I am hoping this is working. Facebook Live was not working, so we're gonna try YouTube Live, because why not? I'm just gonna turn on some lights here. I've been, whoa. I have been playing around with some settings on my computer to try and make a welcome video for my new team members. So, oh boy, this lighting is just awful. Let's see. Better, I suppose. Oh boy. Okay, well, I don't know what to do here. Let's see if we can. So, I am so sorry. This is my first time using YouTube Live. Facebook Live was so not working. I'm just going to share it to Facebook so that some people can kind of come on over here. I swear to God, I am not as yellow as these lights are making me seem. I'm gonna turn one of them back off. And if you could just bear with me for one moment so that I can get some people watching on here, then that would be fantastic. I'm not sure what's going on with Facebook tonight. I know on my way home today, some people were saying that Facebook was not working. I'm like, but how am I supposed to go live? So I'm just gonna keep playing with settings till I get something where I don't look so awful. That's a little better. I think it's maybe too many lights on. That's a little better. Okay, sorry, just gonna share this. I wish I had someone that could do this for me, but I don't have an assistant. I'm not that special yet. Okay, going live on my YouTube channel since Facebook isn't playing nice. Head on over. Okay, I am so excited to be making this card with you tonight. It is a card that I showed on my blog on Monday. It is the So Hoppy Together stamp set and the hop along framelits, and it's just fantastic. Now, it sucks. The framelits have sold out. They were so popular. I knew that the frogs were gonna go fast. I had no idea they were gonna go this fast. It's nuts. So I'm gonna get rid of this blown out face and flip this around and we'll get our craft on. I'm gonna turn this around before I flip you here. And hopefully I don't have a whole lot of adjusting to do on my mount. Like I said, I was recording a welcome video for my new team members. So I had to move my mount around. Usually there would not be all of this set up. I'm so sorry. Nothing like having to have a whole new learning curve the night of, or the moment of. Okay, get this light over here. That light there. I've got all my supplies out, and I had fully intended to cut a whole bunch of pieces beforehand, and then I got caught with this software not doing what it was supposed to do, so my apologies. Okay, I'm gonna get my Stampin' Trimmer because I want to show you how we do this. So typically I would have all of this cut and prepared and ready to go, but I want you to see how to do it from start to finish. So grab a 8.5 by 11 piece of Coastal Cabana, and we want it to fold from the top. So that is going to mean that we are cutting it vertically, methinks. So we are going to cut it at 4 1/4. And the reason I'm using the Stampin' Trimmer is because we can do both cutting and scoring on here. So we are going to score it at 5 1/2. Now remember that the light one is scoring, the dark one is cutting. So that is our standard top folding card. Now we also need to do halfway through there. So half of 5.5 is 2 3/4. That sound about right? Oops, 2 3/4, not 2 1/4. So we're gonna score there as well. And then that's going to give us the easel part of our card. So easy peasy, right? So look at that, it's already starting to look like my sample. Maybe if oh, that's no good. Sorry, just playing around with some filters to try and get it so it looks decent. I'm just gonna leave it alone. Okay, so we can set this aside for now. That is all the cutting and scoring that we need to do. Oh boy, I'm a train wreck tonight. I don't handle change well, apparently. Okay, next, I have a whole bunch of scraps, and I have my big shot. I'm gonna do some embossing. So we'll take everything out of here. I hope there are no comments or anything because I haven't the slightest idea how to check them. I've still got all these filters down here. Okay, live chat. Oh, hi, Geraldine. I'm so happy that I've got 5 people watching. Thank you so much. This is my first time going live on YouTube and a little bit terrified, I'm not gonna lie. It was a last minute decision when Facebook wouldn't play nice. So, okay, let's start. We are going to take, I lied, we are doing a little bit more cutting. We want to cut this to 4 1/4 by 2 3/4 inches. Okay. Hi, Cindy. Okay, so I'm just gonna use, I have a little cutter that's off on the side here. So what did I say? We want 4 1/4. Hey, Sandy, thank you so much. Yeah, nothing like changing the plan at the very last minute. Every time I tried to go live on Facebook, it said that it couldn't. I'm like, oh, fantastic. Now what? I'm feeling that's a little short. Nope, perfect. Okay, so we are going to take the Seaside embossing folder and just run that through. Now, I did find that if I didn't spritz it first with a little bit of water, it not only did it, it wasn't a nice emboss, but it actually tore right through the cardstock. So I would highly recommend spritzing your cardstock and make sure that you have it going the way that the water would flow. You don't want to have it going in the other way. I'm going to take a second to catch my breath here. And this is just a regular old embossing folder, so we don't need, whoops, we take a thin die adapter and we're going to use both the top and bottom plate. Okay, so there's that piece. We'll set that aside and let it dry. See, beautiful. When I did it without spritzing it, there were actually holes in the cardstock, and I tried covering them with the little fishies, but that did not work. Now, while I have this out, we are also going to cut our lily pad. So we will take the So Hoppy Together set. Oh, thank you, Geraldine. Yeah, I hadn't exactly planned on throwing myself into YouTube live tonight, but I have been learning new software today, so I can do it. I know it. Not flawlessly, but what fun would that be? Okay, so when you are embossing a die cut, you always want to do the die cutting first. Sorry, someone is here. Some dogs are going nuts. You always want to do the die cutting first, because if you did the embossing first, when it goes through the big shot, it's going to flatten all that embossing out. Now we are going to use my product of the week, which is the dot to dot embossing folder. If you order this with me, In Canada, by the end of day on Sunday, March 17th, you will get a special little gift from me. Oops, sorry, put the thin dye adapter back in. That won't work. Now we are going to be doing, whoops, a lot of die cutting when it gets time to do the foliage. But what I would like to do first is I'm going to stamp my frogs so that they have a few minutes to sit and dry. My Memento ink doesn't dry super fast, so let's do that. We'll take these little lily pad, well, whatever those things are. Oh, thank you, Sandy. I would love to know if it's actually a better experience on YouTube as a viewer than it is on Facebook. Because if it is, I'd so love to do one of these a week. And for those of you that have watched my last few Facebook Lives, my modem has not yet arrived. I'm not happy about that. Actually, look at this. I have one froggy already stamped. And of course, I got the one thinlet out. I need this guy. Now you will see with my frogs, I actually cut this guy away from the unicycle. Because I'm a rebel like that. I cut my flies apart too. But never fear, they can go together quite easily actually. Because when you have the coordinating framelets, what good would it be if you couldn't stamp them all together again? So they do go back together quite nicely. So that frog is done. That one is already done. I'm just going to grab a little scrap of Whisper White. Grab our Memento ink. So what is everyone up to this fine Wednesday evening? There we go. Okay, so he is done. Got these guys. And just don't place them too close together. Is done. We'll put these guys away. Okay, those guys can sit. Now we will start with some die cutting because there is quite a bit. So I have got the Sea of Textures thinlets. So not only are we going to be cutting out the frogs and these little, whatever those are, but I've got a couple of things from the Under the Sea framelets that we are going to use as well. I think I might change up those fish a little bit. Actually, the first time I did the fish, when I tried to fix a part of my embossed water that had a crack, I put a fish on there and it worked pretty well actually. Just grabbing a piece of glimmer paper. So what we are going to do this time is we are going to use a little piece of glimmer paper and some of the multi-purpose adhesive sheets. And I really only need one cut of this. So we will give this a trim. And I know this isn't a Stampin' Up! Trimmer, but this is the one that stays on my desk all the time. It is my go-to. Whoops. I love that it fits on my desk. It doesn't take up a lot of room. It actually sits on top of my chamois case. Okay, so we'll take this piece off of part of it. I don't want to waste the rest of it. If you haven't used these multi-purpose adhesive sheets, you are missing out, my friend. It makes crafting so much easier. Okay, so there's that guy. Now when we're going through the big shot, what I like to do is put as many pieces through at one time as I can. I've got issues with my arms and I don't want to be doing this a million times. So we've got our thin die adapter back on there. We are going to cut a couple of these and a couple of these. I don't want anything moving. A little bit won't hurt, but let's do that. Rip this. Sometimes it's just not worth getting the scissors out. We want one of these. Whoops, this is this one. I have to tell you, this card was super fun to make. We could actually get two things of fish out of there. Now, I thought I had taken out another one. So this won't quite fit on there, but we don't need to see all of it. So we're just going to cut part. And if you notice, the reason that I'm only putting little pieces is one, so that we can fit all these pieces on, but also because my plates are getting older, more used. They leave marks on the cardstock, and I don't want that going on pieces of cardstock that I can use later. I'd like to go back through, but pieces have moved, so I don't want to risk wasting them. Switching the color up a little bit, I found that the Pear Pizzazz right here didn't pop as much as I would have liked. But I do have to tell you, this card was super popular. I posted it for the What Will You Stamp challenge on Monday. And I shared it to a couple of groups, and wow, between that and Pinterest, I've got quite the traffic this week. Now, if you only follow me on YouTube, or if you've just kind of stumbled upon me tonight, first of all, thank you. But second of all, if you don't already subscribe to my YouTube channel, that would be amazing. And my blog, my website is stampedaf.ca, and there you can see all of the projects that I do on a regular basis. I am part of the What Will You Stamp design team, so every Monday, providing I have the coordinating stamp set, I have a new blog post for that. I was part of Kylie's training blog post this week. Lots of stuff going on. And I want to try and remember I've got a little something to show you at the end, and that is going to be a last minute class that I planned for next week. Okay, I think that's it for this one. Sorry, it's kind of weird being on YouTube and not being able to speed it up. But I think this should be enough. We'll color those frogs quickly. And the little flies. Just doesn't want to come out. Okay, I think that should be good. Got thinlits everywhere. Now for the frogs, I used Mossy Meadow and Olive Green Stampin' Blends, as well as Pineapple Punch. And for the flies, I just used light and dark Smoky Slate and the pineapple punch for their eyes. So we'll start by doing that. And if you are new to the Stampin' Blends markers, you want to work fairly quick so that you're blending the color and not having to come back in with the lighter or darker color more than necessary. Whoa. My hand's going crazy. So here is the light. And actually, if you can see on the card, I actually colored on the outside just so that it wasn't a white line around the die cut. So you don't need to be super careful with this because we are going to color around it anyway, so we might as well do it now. It would appear that I need a new Old Olive blend, light Old Olive. And then in areas where you just want some depth, add it in, ensuring that you're just working quickly to blend it. There's really no right or wrong. You could use them just as regular old markers if you really wanted to. Now I have heard that if you hear the squeaking when you're coloring with blends, you're using too much pressure. So when you hear this, you're pressing too hard. I always found that with the color lifter. Now instead of going as dark as I did on those ones, I might just leave them like this, kind of like in that light look. And this card does not need to be exactly the same as the other one was, so. Actually, I would challenge you to get all of your cards looking the same with blends. That would be some phenomenal coloring. I hope I'm not missing any comments. Oh, water lilies would be good. Is that better for the volume? I hope so. I've just turned the volume on my phone up a little bit, so I hope that's better. Oh no! We're running out! And wouldn't you know it, I just placed an order today. Darn it. This is some of the wildest coloring I've done. If this is your first time ever watching me craft, I don't usually color like this, I promise. And you probably hear that squeaking, and that is because that's how hard I'm having to press to get the ink to come out. Oh boy, the comedy of errors tonight. Let's do these flies quick. Now the last time I did these flies, I added a little bit of Highland Heather and Pool Party and Pineapple Punch, but this time we're just going to do them Smoky Slate and Pineapple Punch. So we're ready for the big shot again. And I do like to use some cheap washi tape when I'm cutting these guys out because I've already colored them. I don't want to have to color them again if it gets out of alignment. So just use some old or retired or cheap washi tape and take some of the adhesive off because it will tear your paper to shreds if you peel it off quickly. Let's move him that way. him that way. Should have saved a little bit. Okay, the flies. I think the flies are my favorite. They're so cute. I love that they're so small. What is your favorite little character from this set? Oops. Okay, I believe we're done with the big shot now. Pull this stuff out. And you can reuse your pieces of washi tape. Now with this guy, because I cut the unicycle away, I just need to trim this part off. Don't be afraid to trim your stamps down. It doesn't hurt them. Obviously you have to be careful when you're cutting them, but I have found that by him not having that unicycle on, I've used it so much more than I probably would have otherwise. Okay, I hope you see what I mean about having that green on the outside. When it was just white around here, it was just far too much. I think I'm gonna do 2 more of these, one in the Coastal Cabana, because we need that to keep this part up, and one in the Tranquil Tide. I'm not gonna move it back in the shop for that one. You get the gist of it. Okay, let's put them together. So I started by adhering this to my card base. So we'll use some Tombow for that. Before we do that though, let's get some shimmer paint. We'll take our frost white. It's mixed with rubbing alcohol, and we're gonna spray the heck out of this thing. Whoops. We're gonna spray the heck out of this thing. Would help if it weren't clogged. And that'll be dry in no time. While we're waiting, ooh, our frog got some spray too. Just gonna put some Tombow on the backs of these. The house is so quiet all of a sudden. I'm guessing my son, who was watching a movie upstairs, has now gone downstairs. Dogs have given up on looking out the window. I think I only did one of these this time. So once you've got all your pieces cut out, it's really just a matter of gluing everything on. off mixing and matching dies and thinlits and stamps from other sets. I did have a couple comments on this card about how it was such a good idea to mix the Under the Sea thinlits. Just going to cover up any spots that aren't quite covered. Now you could definitely fussy cut these frogs, especially now that those thinlits have sold out, but I have tried cutting them, and let me tell you, they are a pain. So this guy is just going to go kind of at the bottom. You could put him on a dimensional. This guy will be up here. Geraldine says the frogs, all of them are her favorite. I'd have to say the only one I'm not crazy about is the frog wearing glasses. Don't get me wrong, he is adorable, but I just have not found an application for that one. So for that reason, I am out. If anyone watches Shark Tank. Okay, now we are ready to glue that down. Actually, I'm going to hit it with my heat tool for just a minute. Good to go. Guess I'm kind of just outside the frame, aren't I? Sorry about that. Okay, so glue that part onto the bottom. Oh, maybe he is a grandpa frog. That could work. Father's Day is coming up. Okay, so that's on there. Now, before I add any more, I was just thinking. So, before I go too much further, look at this. Look at this atrocity of an embossing paste mask. I left the glittery shimmer paint on, or not shimmer paint, embossing paint on too long, and look at it. So I had to cut parts off, and it's embarrassing. I was still very, very new, and I couldn't justify ordering a whole other set for clouds. Clouds that I thought I'd never use. So here we go. We are going to do just a few of them. I don't want to completely reinvent the wheel, but we are using just one of these blending brushes with some craft ink. Not a whole lot of definition at the top. If you haven't tried these blending brushes, I know Kathy Zilski from Minnesota uses them in her videos all the time. I know Picket Fences, I believe, is the company that sells them. These are just cosmetic brushes from Dollarama because I'm cheap like that. And they work perfectly. And they're only $2.50. So I did re-ink my craft white stamp pad to do this because there wasn't quite enough on there. That's probably enough. Just do one more little one down here. So you could see how simple that was. There's really not much of a learning curve to it. But it just totally makes that background, doesn't it? just rinsing it off. I just wipe it on a baby wipe to get any of the ink off. And I've got 3 or 4 of them. The color does come off really nice, so you don't have to have one for each color, which is great. So next, we could put these flies on. Now, in the same way that I colored those frogs with the old olive, I want to get my dark Pool Party blend and color around those flies, and then they won't have that white around them either. They will just blend nicely into the sky. And this, I'm sure, would work for any die cuts where you don't want that white to be obvious. I was pretty pleased with myself that I thought of this, because they would have just been these adorable little flies with like a little halo around them. Sorry that this live is taking longer than my normal Facebook ones do, but I had every intention of doing this all live in real time with you tonight so that you could see how long it actually takes. I'm just pulling this up on my computer. That way I don't have to stand up every time there is a comment. Thank you so much for the comments about the clouds. I thought that they really up. So we are now ready to adhere our lily pad. There's a lot going on this card. There's a lot of texture. But it's all so worth it. Just hold those down for a few seconds. Which do you like better? The super dark frogs or the kind of medium frogs? I'm not going to recolor them, I'm just curious. Inquiring minds want to know. I'm going to use my take your pick tool to pick up these flies. And put some glue. This tumble is almost empty. Okay, so put one here. I said we'll put one here. Now he's flying the opposite way, but that's okay. Tombow really is being stubborn. Doesn't need to be exactly the way my first one was, but I kind of like the balance that I achieved. Let's just put some glue over here. I have this one flying into their little nesty area. Okay, now just a couple more little things. I really do have thinlits and stuff everywhere. This is so not my typical crafting look. We are using the More Than Words stamp set, which has a couple of adorable little sentiments. And if this is your first time seeing this stamp set, these coordinate with all of these Sale-A-Bration stamps, which I think is genius. Love that idea. So I am going to take the Leaping for Joy is Easy to Do with a scrap of Pool Party. And I've got one here. It's a little wide, but we'll take the Coastal Cabana ink and stamp it up. Ink it up. on there. My Coastal Cabana is in need of re-inking. That'll do. So again, I'm just going to take my little cutter, and the first thing I will do is square this up so that it's even, straight. Doesn't have to be exactly the same as it was the first time. I have moved my punches, so not everything is within arm's reach anymore, but I have room to buy more. Loving your comments. I think I'm enjoying the lighter frogs, but this one's still a little dark. And my banner is still a little bit wider than I'd have liked. So I'm just gonna take off just a little bit there. Okay, much, much better. Scissors. Cut that. It may not be perfectly straight, but there's leaping going on, so they could easily have moved the sentiment. I'm blaming the frogs. Now, any part of this could have been put on dimensionals, but there is so much dimension already going on in this card that I figured just Tombow was enough. I'll trim that edge before we're through. Now we have the sentiment on the inside. And that one is, so leaping for joy is easy to do when I have a friend as amazing as you. Now, we want to determine where our little, what did we call them? A water lily? There it is. We're gonna pop that up on a dimensional because that is part of what makes this card work. So just grab a mini dimensional, put it in the center of our water lily. Thank you, Geraldine, that was brilliant. Decide where we want it to open and then just pop that down. And that will keep it open, and let's do our sentiment. Now this one we only have one shot to get right. When I have a friend as amazing as you. Beautiful! I'm going to grab my Wink of Stella and just give this color to make it pop. I like the monotone look of this, but I did want it to pop just a little bit. So there is our Wink of Stella. Now, one last thing. We need to put on our little fish. So get our paper piercing tool out here. I think what I'm gonna do is peel off the adhesive backing to begin with. And then just pop them right on there. Look, there's one that's already off. Just pick them up and put them on any old place. That one lost the glitter. Okay, let's hope this one doesn't lose the glitter too. There we go. Now When I put the frogs on the first time, I did color some of them. I had a few that were too light. But like I'd mentioned earlier, the original card did have glimmer paper fishies. And I loved it. But I ended up taking off that background because it had a big tear in it and it wasn't up to my standards. Not that everything has to be perfect, but when you know that there's something wrong with it and you wouldn't want your name attached to it, pretty much indicates that you need to redo it. Something needs to change. Let's put some of these babies on here. I do like to have some going the opposite way. And you could certainly put these closer so that it actually looks like a school of fish instead of just a bunch of random fish. One more, I think. There's not a ton of fish that you end up cutting out from here, so you could put them all on. I just like to find gaps and fill them. And I can't bear to waste this. Okay, this is the last one. The one on my finger is the last one. We're gonna put him right here. Okay, so that's it. He's finally done. So just give that a nice little crease. I lied, one more thing. Cut off this little end. Now it's done. So leaping for joy is easy to do when I have a friend as amazing as you. Aren't they sweet? I hope that you enjoyed this project, and I thank you truly for sticking with me through this learning process and for the very last minute change in plans. I hope that you will consider hitting that subscribe button below, and you can be assured that I am definitely going to do YouTube Live in the future. So thank you so much for joining me, friends. Bye. Thank you, Sandy. I can't figure out how to... Bye.